Good evening. My name is Ross Nova, running for governor of Minnesota under the Republican Party. Welcome to the War Room Kitchen, where we address real issues that matter to you. That being said, the Blue Shield Act. It's one of my favorites. It's one thing that I'm very passionate about. Also known as the Blue Stripe Shield Act. The purpose of this act is to establish a mandatory safety buffer around the law enforcement officers and authorize security personnel to prevent interference, reduce assaults on officers, protect protesters, civilians, and bystanders from unintended harm, and ensures officers can perform their duties without obstruction while preserving the public's right to observe and record from a safe distance. This act is intended to de-escalate confrontation and keep both officers and protesters or groups of physically separated to reduce the risk of injuries to all parties. That's the whole point of this Blue Shield Act, is to pretty much separate the officers from the protesters, observers, bystanders, whatever. Okay, doing that will help officers conduct their business safely, and protesters can observe, record, whatever, safely. That's the whole point of this, the Blue Shield Act. It's intended to protect officers, but also protects the protesters, bystanders, whatever. This act applies to the following individuals while performing official duties: local police officers, sheriffs and deputies, state troopers, off-duty law enforcement acting in an official capacity, licensed private security working under contract for business or government entity, federal law enforcement officers and agents, including but not limited to ICE, U.S. Border Patrol, FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshal Service, Homeland Security investigations, authorized U.S. military personnel when deployed domestically under lawful authority. So, pretty much any law enforcement. Activation of Blue Shield, okay? Blue Shield is activated when covered officer or agent verbally states Blue Shield or Blue Stripe Shield or Get Back 30 feet. Any of those three things. Once an officer says get back, get back, get back, you have to back up 30 feet. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Once activated, all provisions of this act immediately applies. Mandatory safe distance. No person may remain within 30 feet of officer or agent once Blue Shield is activated. In other words, 30 feet is officers are on the one side of the street on the sidewalk, and the protesters are on the other side of the street on the sidewalk. 2-lane road, that's 30 feet. To give you a ballpark figure what 30 feet is, okay? It's a 2-lane road, officers on one sidewalk, the protesters, observers, whatever, are on the other sidewalk across the street. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. For clarity, 30 feet shall be generally understood as approximately with the width of the standard 2-lane roadway, meaning officers or agents positioned on one sidewalk and civilians, protesters, or groups of positioned on the opposite sidewalk. Civilians and members of media must move back at least 30 feet and may continue recording from this distance. Again, media as well, press, whoever. Your cameras can zoom really well these days. Your microphones can pick up a lot of stuff these days. A person may approach only if the officer or agent gives clear verbal permission, or the officer or agent is visibly down, incapacitated, immediate medical assistance is necessary. Riot and crowd control situations. When a line of group of officers issue blue shield command, all persons must immediately retreat 30 feet. In other words, if there's a group of officers, right, and they say, get back, get back, get back, or blue shield or blue stripe shield, or get back 30 feet, the protesters must get back. Now, if the officers are moving towards you, you have to keep moving back. There's a reason. If officer advances and continues issuing commands, civilians must continue backing away. Failure to comply constitute grounds for immediate arrest. I'm getting ahead of myself. Restricted areas. When officers or agents are guarding or surrounding a building, business, vehicle, crime scene, entryway, or perimeter, no person may approach once blue shield is activated. Which is reasonable, right? Compliance and disputes. Any person who disagrees with an officer's action must pursue remedies through department complaint process or the courts. Confrontation or interference during an active investigation, arrest, or crowd control operation is prohibited. Meaning, if you have issues with what's going on, or how officers are holding themselves, take it with the Department of Law Enforcement afterwards. Not go up to their face with their phones and start recording them and telling them that we have issues. Wait for later to do that. Penalties. Violation of this act is misdemeanor punishable by no less than 60 days and no more than 90 days in jail, or a fine up to $1,000. And it is a little bit more steeper with the whole sentencing of no less than 60 days and no more than 90 days, because you are literally putting your life at risk and the officer's life at risk. And you may not know it, but you may put other people's lives at risk as well. The ICE agent, the police officer, the FBI, whoever, may be heading towards a dangerous situation. And if they don't get there in time, because you protesters are blocking roads or you're not following instructions of the officers, agents, whoever, you may be causing other harms that you may not see. And that's why I'm very strong for this. Additional criminal charges may be added if the violation results in injuries, property damage, or other criminal conduct. Charges under this act shall be dismissed except charges under this act shall not be dismissed except at the sole discretion of the officer or agent. He's the only one who can drop the charges. The courts will not be able to drop the charges unless you're found innocent. An arrest may be made at a later time if immediate arrest is not feasible. So you may think you've gotten away with it, but they're going to have those cams available. They're going to find who you are, and they're going to arrest you later. So the thing is, the whole Blue Shield Act, I wish that was available a whole lot sooner, especially during the ICE protesters. The thing is, I think Renee Good and Alex Pretty, I think those lives could have been, those deaths could have been prevented easily with this Blue Shield Act. In fact, if you go back in my videos, you will hear me discuss about this. Because the thing is, this Blue Shield Act should not even exist. I should not even be talking about that. Because back in the day, when officers were conducting an investigation, whether they pull over a car, whether they are entering a home, whether they're arresting people on the front lawns of a house, right? We observers were across the street. We watched, we observed, maybe take photos, maybe do a video, whatever. That was it. Now, we citizens are with our phones getting up right up to their faces, no room to wiggle around, literally right up to your face, yelling, screaming, demanding stuff. You as a citizen have no right to demand shit. If you want to demand something, then go to the police department, file the paperwork. Go see your representatives, whoever. When police is conducting a stop or investigation or making an arrest, it's already in progress. You cannot interfere with that. If you have issued the way they conduct themselves, then take it with the police department afterwards. Fill out the paperwork. See your representatives, talk to your mayor, whoever. You got no shit. When it comes to demanding, I should be careful with my verbiage. You got no grounds to stand on when you approach an officer. You can yell and scream all you want, but it's doing you no good. It's doing no good to the person he is investigating or arresting. It's only making it worse. So I think this Blue Shield Act of 30 feet is reasonable. I think both parties, for the Republicans and Democrats, should pass it. Why not? It keeps the officers safe and it keeps the citizens safe. It's a win-win situation. Like I said, your cameras are able to zoom. Your cameras are able to pick up voices from across the street just fine. Like I said, we shouldn't need this, but we have to have that now. Because people, I guess, don't respect law enforcement. They're emboldened in their actions, thinking they are untouchable, that the police cannot do shit. And so that's why they're up in their face with the cameras, thinking their Second Amendment protects them. First Amendment, my bad. Freedom of speech, you know. Just because you have the freedom of speech to record, to document, to whatever, does not mean you should just be able to go up to their faces and interfere with their investigation, with their stop, with their arrest. That's what I believe. And that's why I'm very strong for Blue Shield Act. It protects both the law enforcement and the civilians. Ross Nova, shooting forward, brighter, bolder, for a better tomorrow.